I never believed the future could call me, until that night. It was 2:17 a.m. when Michael's phone rang. In the dead silence of his suburban home, the shrill ring shattered the quiet. Bleary-eyed, he answered, expecting perhaps a wrong number, but the voice that greeted him was all too familiar. It was his own, distorted and desperate. "Michael, they're already inside. Run!" the voice pleaded, each word laced with panic and dread. Michael froze, heart pounding like a frantic drumbeat in his chest. He stared at his phone, disbelieving. His own voice? How could that be? And why was it warning him of something unspeakable? The message sent a chill that reached his very core, a cold dread that he couldn't shake off. He tried to shrug it away as a prank or a misdial, but the voice repeated the warning. The call ended abruptly. He looked around his dark living room, every shadow morphing into a potential threat. Michael's mind raced. Could it be a cruel trick? Yet, in the back of his mind, a knot of terror began to form. The next few nights were a descent into paranoia. The phone rang at odd hours, always delivering the same haunting message, each call growing more frantic. "They're inside. Hurry! Michael, run!" The voice, unmistakably his, sounded increasingly agitated, as if trapped in a fate he was desperately trying to change. One stormy evening, as thunder rumbled in the distance, Michael decided he had had enough. He must leave this cursed house. Grabbing his coat, he bolted for the front door. The wind howled as if echoing his fear. But just as his trembling hand reached for the knob, another shrill ring echoed through the hallway. He turned slowly. The phone on his bedside table, which he had left behind in his haste, began to ring. With dread pooling in his stomach, he picked it up. On the other end, his own voice, now hoarse, frantic, whispered, "They're already here, Michael. They're inside." Panic surged like wildfire. He dashed down the stairs, nearly colliding with the telephone on the wall. As he reached for the exit, every reflection in the dark glass of the hallway, mirrors, polished surfaces, seemed to show his own eyes filled with terror. The realization hit him. The house, his once safe sanctuary, had become a labyrinth of shadows and whispers, a trap from which there was no escape. He ran out into the stormy night, the rain lashing against his face. Behind him, his home stood silent and foreboding, its windows dark and impenetrable. But the terror wasn't over. Every time he thought he'd left it behind, a new phone would ring in his mind, echoing that chilling warning. For weeks after, Michael wandered the empty streets of his neighborhood, a shell of a man haunted by the memory of that voice. He'd catch his reflection in a storefront window and see the terror in his own eyes, as if he'd already been consumed by the darkness. Friends tried to help, but he remained distant, always looking over his shoulder, as though expecting the call to come again. Then, one night, while he sat alone in a dingy motel room, the phone rang once more. This time, instead of a warning, it said, "You're next." The line went dead. Michael's breath caught, and a cold sweat broke over him as the room fell into an unbearable silence. He knew then that his life was on the brink, his future, his sanity, all poised to crumble beneath the weight of an inescapable destiny. And somewhere, in the deepest recesses of time, that desperate, distorted echo of his own voice continued to call out, an eternal warning, a cursed reminder that some things, once set in motion, can never be undone.